Most of you, if you're married, probably remember the first time that you met your spouse. I met Bryna on a Sunday afternoon. We took a beautiful long walk along the Hudson River. We had a great time. Passed a soda machine, and I wanted to buy her a drink, but the machine wouldn't take my dollar, and I didn't have any coins, so she ended up buying drinks for both of us. A little embarrassing, but I guess it could have been worse. I guess I set a low bar at least for my future financial support. Anyway, this week in the Parsha, we read of Yaakov meeting his future wife, his first date, shall we say, or at least one of his future wives, his most beloved one. He meets Rachel Imenu for the first time, and it's a little unusual to say the least. He meets her at a well. Okay, that's fine. But the pasuk tells us in Bereshis, Perak Chav Tes, pasuk Yud Aleph, Vayishak Yaakov leRachel. Yaakov kisses Rachel. Okay, a bit funny. They just met, but it was different times. That's a discussion for another time. And then it says Vayisak Kolo Vayevk, and Yaakov raises his voice and he cries. Why was Yaakov crying on his first date with Rachel before he even speaks? And in the next pasuk, he does speak. He introduces himself and tells her who he is. But before he even utters any words, why is he wailing and sobbing? Vayisak Kolo Vayevk, and he lets out a wail and he cries. What is going on? The Sforno says that Yaakov cried because, and I quote, Al shalo zacha laseis osa binu urav, since he didn't merit to be able to marry her when he was younger. V'hayulo la'es kazos b'nei urim, and by now he would have already had children who were young adults. Yaakov was somewhere in his 70s, most likely. Some say maybe 74, 77. Either way, he wasn't so young anymore, at least to be getting married for the first time. And now he meets the person who he wants to and understands that she will be his wife, and he's happy to be with her, but he's sad for all of the missed time. He wishes that he could have met her when he was younger and been married for a longer time. So that's why even before he gets into discussions, he understands, he foresees, maybe prophesies that this will be his wife, and it'll be a beautiful and happy marriage, and he's sad for the time that they missed. Rashi has two different explanations. I'll mention the first one briefly and then share a quick thought on his second one. First, Rashi says, Lefisha tzafa beruach hakodesh she'ena nichneses imo lekvura. Again, Yaakov had some type of prophecy where he was able to foresee that not only would Rachel be his wife, they would live a long, happy life together, but when the time would come to be buried, they would be buried in separate places. We know that, of course, Yaakov is buried next to Leah, one of his other wives, in Maras HaMachpelah, along with the other patriarchs and matriarchs. Rachel, sadly, was buried al haderech, on the way. She was buried in Beis Lechem, of course, at what today is called Kever Rachel, where people flock to and visit, one of our holiest sites and one of our most important places for tefillah, where Bnei Israel have gone for millennia to daven at the kever of Rachel Imenu. But for Yaakov, that was something sad, that he wouldn't be able to be buried next to his most beloved wife, and therefore at this very first moment when he's meeting her and he understands that this is his wife, this will be Rachel Imenu, he also understands that he won't be buried with her, and that causes him to cry. But I want to focus for a moment on Rashi's second explanation. Rashi writes as follows. Davar acher, there's another possibility to explain Yaakov's crying when he first meets Rachel. Lefi shabab yadayim reikanios, because he came to her with empty hands. Amar, and he said to himself, Eliezer Eved Avi Abba, Eliezer, the servant of my father's father, Avram's right-hand man, Eliezer, who went to find a wife for Yitzchak. He was the messenger sent in Parshas Chayei Sarah that we read a couple of weeks ago. When he went to find a wife for Yitzchak, Hayu biyadav nizamim utzmidim u'migdanos, he had all kinds of jewelry and earrings and goodies that he was going to bring to gift to her. V'ani ein biyadi klum, and I have nothing in my hands. I have nothing to give to Rachel. Why did Yaakov have nothing? Rashi continues and explains, Lefisha radaf Elifaz ben Eisav b'mitzvas aviv acharav lehargo, because Yaakov flees from his brother Eisav. The beginning of this week's parsha, Vayeitzei Yaakov. Yaakov is leaving to escape the wrath of his brother Eisav. So Eisav didn't just let him get off with nothing, but Eisav sent Elifaz, his son, to go after, to chase him, to pursue him, and to kill him. V'hisigo, Elifaz caught up to Yaakov. But Elifaz wasn't just Eisav's son; he was Yitzchak's grandson. And since he had grown up around the great tzaddik Yitzchak, true, his father was Eisav, and I'm sure he was influenced by him as well. But he was also influenced by his grandfather Yitzchak. Mashach Yadav, he couldn't do it. He caught up to Yaakov and he was going to kill him, and then he pulled his hand back. I'm Yitzchak's grandson. How could I do something like this? Amar lo ma'aseh l'tzivoy shalaba. So he said to Yaakov, what am I supposed to do? My father commanded me to chase after you and kill you. How could I do that? I don't want to kill you. But my father commanded me to. What am I going to go back and tell him? So Amar lo Yaakov said to him, Kol masha biyadi v'ha'ani chashav kameis. Take all my possessions, spare my life, and go back and tell your father Eisav that you took everything that I have, you took everything that I own. That will be good enough to satisfy him. Let me live, but leave me with nothing. And Elifaz agreed to that. He stripped Yaakov of all his belongings. He went back home, and Yaakov continued on with nothing. That, Rashi says, is why Yaakov shows up to Rachel with absolutely nothing to his name. He doesn't have a wallet, he doesn't have money, he doesn't have a credit card, he has nothing. Certainly doesn't have any jewelry or gold or silver. It was all taken by Elifaz, and now Yaakov is sad that he shows up to meet with Rachel, and he's got nothing to give her. The Netziv, interestingly, parenthetically, says another reason why Yaakov might have had nothing. The Netziv says, Ulefia Pshat, he actually first quotes Rashi's explanation and says there's a simpler explanation why Yaakov didn't have anything with him. Because remember, Yaakov right now is meeting Rachel after learning for 14 years in the Beis Medrash, in the Torah institution of Shem ve'ever. 14 years learning Torah. He spent and he used everything that he already had. True, he was running away from Eisav. That was 14 years ago. There have been 14 years where Yaakov has been a yeshiva bacher, in yeshivas Shem ve'ever. He got no finance, no income, no job. He's been learning in yeshiva for 14 years, so he spent all his savings. He has nothing left. Either way, the point is, Rashi says, that Yaakov had nothing with him, had nothing to give to Rachel, and therefore, when he met her, he cried. The Sifsei Chachamim, quote the Marshal, they're bothered by this explanation of Rashi. The Sifsei Chachamim says, Kasha, Eich Tzadik Kazeh Yivke Al Chesron Mamon. How could it be that the great Tzadik Yaakov is crying about the fact that he doesn't have money? Money? What's money worth? He's meeting Rachel Imenu. He's getting married soon. Why is Yaakov so upset about the fact that he is poor? And I would suggest, to answer the Sifsei Chachamim's questions, that Rashi doesn't mean that Yaakov was upset by the fact that he was poor. Rashi is explaining that Yaakov was upset by the fact that he had nothing to give to Rachel. Yaakov didn't need gold and silver so that he could live a life of luxury and comfort. He didn't need the newest clothing or the newest car, the newest piece of technology. Even if it was Black Friday, Yaakov didn't need any of that stuff. He was very happy to be learning in yeshiva and probably have a piece of bread and a bowl of soup and maybe one change of clothing, and he was good to go. No. Yaakov was only upset because he didn't have assets that he could give. He wanted to show Rachel his love for her. He wanted to express and demonstrate the care and the connection that he had. He wanted to have something that he could gift to her. Righteous people, tzaddikim, only want things so that they can share them and give them to other people. We should all learn and remember that whatever we have, whatever goods or resources we are fortunate to possess, is really best used when shared or given to others. If Yaakov cried because he didn't have anything to give, then when one does have the opportunity to give, tzedakah, to do chesed, or just to share whatever you have with someone else, then make sure you take a moment to appreciate your gift. One of the greatest gifts that Hashem can give us, the gift of being able to give. Have a wonderful Shabbos.